George, again for your kind welcoming words to this graduation event. So we will not keep you too long this Friday morning. Most of you here have already worked so hard in the past weeks. So what we're going to do is, let me see if I can click through. So we're going to, of course, do a bit of a reflection on the Spring Sprint by the team. I also invited two active hubs of the past weeks, Vesna and Kieran, to do their own bit of reflection. Then we will have really the graduation moment. There's also a few extra rewards to reward some extra activity over the past weeks. And I invited George as well to give us a sneak preview on the SmartAgriHubs closing event. There's a lot going on already. They're planning the agenda, and it would be nice for us to see what's going on. So the official closing will be around 10, but I deliberately made the invitation a little bit longer. We have experienced how nice it is to chat with each other. So the possibility is still there, and we even have a discussion question to lead that chat, but that's optional. Get a coffee and chat a bit after 10. So that's the program. And well, first my reflection just in one slide. I'm sorry for this picture. This was just a very spontaneous picture. I know I didn't wait for a moment that everyone looked his or her best, but this was during the marketing wrap-up session.
Okay.
And I think this nicely reflects especially the Friday morning sessions we had over the past weeks. And I see that this is now in front of. Okay. So if I summarize the Spring Sprint, well, I had to think a bit of the song festival, like the 12 points, the 12 points. We've seen, especially Carlotta, I know you're based in Italy, you're one of the higher scorers on our leaderboard, and this is something that has been keeping us as a moderator team busy in the background, you know, looking at the degree of activity, how are things going, are people indeed responding to our materials? Yeah, that kind of, and especially because you're coming from all over Europe. So at some point I had kind of like this song festival association. What also marked this Spring Sprint is, I'd say, 4 rather quiet check-ins. Every week we had this check-in moment with the moderator teams on the Wednesday. Those were peculiarly quiet, especially compared to the Friday mornings. We also, of course, positioned those check-ins as completely non-obligatory, just if you have a question. Sometimes someone popped in, but the most popular ones were actually the wrap-ups on the Friday morning, just to talk to each other about the topic of the week. Those were, all 4 of them were quite enjoyable. So we collected about 250 comments over this period in our platform, which I think is quite a lot. People talking to each other, responding, and you know, the insights that we've got, I would say, were numerous over these past weeks. So I would now actually like to ask. I would now also like our moderator teams to shortly give the highlights of your week, and I'm going to do it in order of the Spring Sprint weeks. So first, I would like to invite Frank to just give a short highlight of your week.
Yes, thank you, Caroline. Also, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you specifically for the driving force behind the Spring Sprint and creating the atmosphere. So the first week was about the business models and strategy of a digital innovation hub. We see this as say the overarching perspective on how a digital innovation hub should work. Of course, we started this week with a very nice kickoff, also with the panel discussion, if you recall that. So that was for me a brilliant kickoff. Then it was indeed up to the participants to get to the platform and view the material, do the exercises, and of course respond to each other. Actually, this check-in on the Wednesday was rather active. It doesn't mean that there were a lot of digital innovation hubs, but I think we had some nice, almost say, private discussions together with Alexander Berlin, who couldn't be here today. That was a very interesting discussion, I think, with those participating. So then we moved on in that week, and eventually, yeah, we closed it off on the Friday, also with very good discussions. As you can imagine, the discussions were, sometimes also a little bit beyond the topic of the week, which is not a problem at all. I mean, there's a lot of things that are on the mind of the participants. So I see Carlotta and Vesna were specifically active in that week. Also our project colleague Harald, who's not here yet today, but he was also very active in that week. So I look back at a very, very promising first week of this intensive period, I must say. So that was my reflection on this first week. So specifically, Carlotta and Vesna, who are here, were very, very active on that first week, and also, you know, with their relatively early stage digital innovation hubs. And then also see Kieran here pop up. Yes. So with the very early stages, there's a lot to learn, and anything is welcome. So it's a challenge to streamline that in a good way, and I hope that the Spring Sprint is actually doing that for the participants. So thank you, participants.
Thank you, Frank. I see that we do not have, well, we have Lucas, actually. I don't want to put you on the spot, Lucas, but as I see that Ahmad, I think Ahmad was not well yesterday. So yeah, it might be that he really turned in sick, and Stavros is on a holiday. So Ahmad gave us a little report on the financing week, which I can say something about. But maybe Lucas, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but maybe you can give a short reflection of the financing week.
I don't have input on that. I was not involved, I suppose.
Maybe.
Oh. I thought you were part of the wrap-up session in the financing week.
Christina can.
Good.
I can give a short overview. So I participated on this.
Yeah.
Wow, participant basically, but it was quite interesting to see that the different financing instruments, or public versus private, were quite discussing in depth, in the sense that some digital innovation hubs rely more on
Ouch.
Yeah.
revenues, some, oops.
Yes, you were
Frozen.
Yeah, you were frozen. Christina, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I think you'd even have to start again. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Let's see. I'm experiencing problems, but we were discussing the differences between public and private funding. Some digital innovation hubs are relying quite a lot on public funding, which is actually quite common, while others are really focused on revenue streams and contributions from partners for their funding. And that was quite a big discussion. And then the connection of how do you connect the different funding streams to your different services and make this match was quite prominent as a topic. So it was really about how do you create value and how actually do you get paid for that, which is in essence the business models of the digital innovation hubs. The discussion was actually very nice, and people shared their experience, questions, but also gave us some feedback, such as, for example, that at times it would be nice to mention what are the public funding instruments that are available as an overview. So it's always, if you know of a upcoming nice public policy funding do share it with the peers, either in the SmartAgriHubs community or in the LXP, anywhere that you know, and maybe this is also a way to spread the knowledge and maybe find new partners. So that's a little bit in short the discussions that we had in the wrap-up.
Thank you, Christina. So the week after we had the marketing and engagement week. It's really about how to set up, of course, your marketing strategy, but also how to really engage with your stakeholders in such a way that they may turn into ambassadors. And what I think a few key things that came out is that it's, of course, very much about storytelling and what is your unique positioning as a hub. And we talked about that, you know, as some hubs, Vesna, for instance, mentioned how to use your marketing strategy to, at least in your storytelling, overcome the gap of where you are, where you want to evolve as a hub and the digitalization level of farmers. And how do you reach out in an engaging way to farmers who are still on a different level in that sense. I also like the comment made by Dolores about making a good marketing strategy, especially, you know, these days you have more and more data available, how to make it really smart using available data. I think that's still a bit underestimated, the role that data can play in a good marketing strategy. And we also talked about different contexts that we're operating in, connections with tourism or not. We had a nice example from Fiber Greece, who's also working in tourism, as well as Dolores. So quite some nice directions. And what we, I think, all recognized is that it's still the marketing strategy of our digital innovation hubs could all use some more attention. Yeah, so glad that we have had the opportunity to give it some attention in this week. I don't know if Dolores or the team at Copter wants to add to this. This is your chance.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting us to participate in such interesting event. So as you mentioned, on one side, we have these synergies that we are still discovering among the different sectors. And I think the digital innovation hubs can generate this good umbrella ecosystem, a forum in which they can meet with the skills of the digital transformation. We are generating new opportunities in which the sectors, and especially for us, the agri-food sector, is generating these synergies with the tourism. And as you mentioned, the fact of having data and using data in the correct way is also very important, because at the end, they are very, very aware of the importance of taking this decision based on that. Of course, we have the tradition, of course, we have the knowledge of the previous years and so on, and we really need to generate these balances among the traditional ways of working and also the future of the digitalization. And generating balances, I think, is the only way to go in the right way, taking into account also how we have to take care about our environment, our territory, and the quality of life of people. So thank you so much. It was great and a pleasure to be here today.
I think quite clear why we had Dolores on the champion as a champion hub this week. So yeah, thank you. Let me finalize this round by asking either Livia or Christina to say a bit about the business planning week.
I can go. Thank you, Caroline. It was a shorter one compared to the other. Indeed, we had our wrap-up yesterday, but it was quite interesting. Yesterday, some insights have been highlighted by the participants and confirmed basically also the comments and questions that populated the module during the week. The first highlight is that sometimes business planning is considered like a difficult tool in terms of time to be spent. And all participants agreed on the fact that it's necessary to consider some elements when a business plan is drafted, meaning both internal and external conditions, the target audience, the missions the Digital Innovation Hub is willing to achieve, and of course they perceived the business plan useful when it comes to engaging with regional authorities, public authorities, because they need really a lot of details and a business plan is helpful. But when it comes to contact or convince, for example, venture capitalists, the business plan is not the best tool ever because it's too long. Indeed, all of them confirmed that, for example, the one-pager, which is on the platform, is very useful to have a clear frame of what the Digital Innovation Hub is doing, is willing to achieve. Something else that has been raised is that it would be advisable to consider different revenue streams because failure is out of there. So better to have different options at the same time. What else? Lars highlighted, for example, that in the business planning, we need to really consider the digital dimension. They cannot be separate elements, the digitalization and the planning. And the other elements to be considered are, of course, the level of maturity of the Digital Innovation Hubs when the business plan is drafted. And yes, all of them consider the tools as a key element. I don't know if Christina would like to complement on this.
Not that much. I think that you summed it up quite well. And just the highlight of everybody that when you use a business plan, it should be targeted towards your audience. So whether you're going to your partners or to your regions, that's up to you. And so use it as a tool, depending on what you need.
Thank you both. I also asked two of our very active hubs over the past weeks to also share on your experience, not only hear from the moderator team. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So to not only hear from the moderator teams, but also from our hubs. So Vesna, may I ask you first to give your reflection overall on the sprint?
Well, hello to everybody. My name is Vesna Alic. I come from Slovenia. I'm running an institute for development of agriculture and entrepreneurship, and I'm trying to make alive the idea of agri-food DIH. This would be Agri-Food Slovenia, because with this DIH, I would fill the gap together with my partners, with the stakeholders. The digital innovation gap is by the numbers not so huge, but it's a huge in terms of challenges that we would face. And I was preparing the value proposition according to the advice of all the SmartAgriHubs team and from all my peers. And the main idea of this DIH would be connecting farmers and educating them. And this is also a part that the government is interested in. And for the companies and for the farmers, the DIH would provide some services like publishing, like connecting, and of course the investment support, because the digitalization is followed by massive investments. And finance, as I learned, should be dispersed, should be checked with the stakeholders, and it should come with multiple sources. This means public and also private funding. And for the marketing strategies, I started with my why, of course, and then moved to the practical things like going with following the interests of the stakeholders and connecting them, and with using the internet technologies for publishing, for PR activities, and for other advertising or marketing activities. And of course, the business plan, as one of our colleagues mentioned, it's a huge thing, and it should be prepared for the stakeholder or for the partner you're searching or you're in talk with. And first of all, in the early stage, as my DIHs, is getting to know my business. So getting to know my model and playing with the model, and later from these sources start with a bigger picture. And I'm really thankful that I came here and that I had this opportunity to cooperate in such a great environment, and I hope to cooperate in the future too. There was a lot of networking, and the whole of this program was built from a lot of theory, from a lot of practical things, from a lot of exchange, consulting from experienced mentors and consultants. And I really think that we have a lot of challenges to face, and I hope that we will challenge them together. So really many thanks to everybody who participated in this very, very rich exchange. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vesna. This is so nice here and humbling at the same time. But thank you, and also a word of thanks from us as being such, being such a loyal part of the Sprint Week, asking sharp questions and being so involved. So we'll surely be in touch on that. Thank you, Vesna. I also invited Kieran to reflect a bit back, also because Vesna is really coming from a startup position. Kieran more from a hub which is in another development phase. So I was just curious, Kieran, about your reflection on the past weeks.
Caroline, maybe stop sharing your screen, then
can
the speaker has a little bit more visibility.
That's a good idea. Yes, I'm sorry for that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and yeah, happy to share my experience. And so I'm Kieran O'Donoghue, running an agri-tech industry cluster in Ireland. We're based in the southwest of Ireland, and we're hosted by a university, a technological university, and we're actually right now we're funded by government, so by enterprise development organization, part of the government, and it's we're as you say, I suppose, Caroline, we're in development all the time. We're sort of into our second year, and I suppose really what we're doing is trying to bring to accelerate the growth of agri-tech companies in Ireland, especially those companies who are trading internationally, right? And we're also supporting actually startup companies as well, because we're based at a technology park, and there's a business incubator, in the park as well. So we're the actual, I suppose, sprint for us, for me in particular, has been really of benefit. I suppose I'm coming from a tech background. I'm an engineer by trade, as such, and it's interesting to work on all of the business related materials in what we are doing, especially coming from my background. I think it's been a real benefit. You know, I've sort of come and touched on a lot of the business aspects over time, but it's really nice to sort of crunch it all into one short period of time of 4 weeks, where you sort of really use some of the tools, techniques, and the templates. So I found it a real benefit, and I think there's a lot of learnings that I've taken from it that I'll actually use in the next weeks and months ahead. A lot of what I've done in the last weeks with the time available, I suppose, is that I've gone through the materials myself, and I think it'll be something going forward where I'll engage the team. It came up, I think, in the early stages around the strategy and the marketing, whereby it's important to engage with the team that's also supporting what we're doing in the cluster, because as such, I'm sort of a one-man band in the cluster, but there's a lot of interested stakeholders who can sort of champion, I think, what we are doing. And that's something that I've taken from it, that I can sort of drive that or lever that a little bit more, that stakeholder involvement in what we're doing as a cluster. So I suppose what we are doing is we're bringing companies together. We're bringing companies, small and medium-sized companies in particular, together to work on areas of common interest that can help them to develop new product services, help them to improve their processes, help them to find new markets. These are the types of areas we're working on, and I suppose we're in the first year we focus a lot on what sort of services we can provide to companies. So we did a lot of workshops around, it was all online at the time, workshops to find out their needs. And we've structured some programs in around that. So we've been successful as well on 2 of the SmartAgriHubs service calls. So thank you very much for that as well. It's kept us very active in the current months, because it's enabled me to broaden the reach and scope of the cluster, to bring in other people to help engage with companies and drive some activities with companies, which is really important, and it's been a great benefit for the cluster so far. So I think in relation to all of the materials, for me, the structure was really, really cool in terms of, starting with the strategy and sort of working our way. The material was very concise as such, right? So the very nice templates, and I think great to hear from experienced hubs as well. I suppose we've an ambition to be, a very successful digital innovation hub. And this material is, I find, brilliant to help us along that journey. And it's always going to be, I think, a good place to come and look for some directions. Like, I mean, on the first model, looking at that business model canvas is a nice way to distill thoughts into, what sort of business you have and what way are you funded at the moment, and maybe over time, how would you see the funding? We're primarily government funded now, but in 6 years' time or 5 years' time, we will need to be funded part by industry, I would say, maybe part by government and part by our programs or sponsors. So it was an interesting exercise to consider how we would be funded potentially going forward, because we know for sure the government funds aren't going to be there for us 100% always, right? And we're lucky to have them at the moment. So then I suppose that was interesting. Really interesting in the financing was around the pitch. I found it great for me, that exercise on the pitch, because we've been pitching for different funding mechanisms to do different services. So some really nice takeaways out of that for me. And I think looking at the marketing, again, it's something that it's not in my expertise, the marketing concept. And I've been lucky enough to have a business marketing student from the university work with me over the summer period now. So there's some great materials there that we're able to work together on right now. Actually, I think the assignment on, why you're doing it, you know, how you're doing it, and what are you doing is interesting. Was an interesting one. And I suppose the other thing, just on the business plan as well, I suppose on the final week, I need to spend more time at that for sure. But the SWOT analysis for me is a very important tool as a building block. Really important tool. I had done a SWOT analysis for, let's say, agriculture technology in Ireland, you know, as a big picture, but I hadn't done for the cluster, and I made a start at that, and I need to do more on it. But doing it specifically for your own organization is very important, and I've taken that from the materials as well. So I think, like Vesna, I think you really want to thank everyone for putting it together. It's been really helpful, and I think it's a great source of information, knowledge in a nice, concise way. You know, it's well blended with the materials, with the videos, and well delivered. I have to say also, you know, just a final remark, maybe just to mention around, you know, I suppose in our own team, a lot of the work we've done with a small number of people as we're growing our membership. We have quite a small membership right now. We've about 20 companies. I think the materials is very helpful for us to sort of structure our journey as we're trying to grow what we're doing, the reach of what we're doing, and adding more and more programs. I think the value aspect is really important. So more and more I'll be looking at what we're doing, is it really adding value for companies, you know, before we actually do it. That was an interesting part as well. And I think it's been great to network in some of the calls on the Friday in particular, to meet new people and to see where other people are in their journeys. I think Vesna's, you know, dealing more directly with the farmers, whereas I'm dealing more directly with suppliers to the farmers, suppliers of equipment and technology. So it's interesting to see where people are operating and the different spaces that people are operating in. So thanks very much again, and thanks for the opportunity to give you an update.
Well, thank you so much, Kieran. Let me stress that I didn't tell Kieran to only be positive, but thank you so much for these words, and I like Kieran also the integrated view that you're giving on the project as a whole. You know, also your involvement in the calls, etc., and that you see how this all is connecting. So thank you for sharing that view. Yeah, so we're almost ready to go to the most fun part, but still my last thing I really want to tell you is what next, because as I saw Frank already put in the chat, the platform will be available until June 30, for which we have to thank actually Next Learning Valley, who is the provider of this platform, and they agreed pro bono to keep it open for us June 30. So to do a you know, a well organized wrap up of our learning and exchange experience. The Spring Sprint ends today, which means that the moderator teams, as they were available in the past weeks, will not be as structurally available. But of course, if you're active on the platform commenting, we will keep on checking. And always, if you have a question for one of us, you can always reach out. It's just that the organized Spring Sprint will end today, and the material will be available on the platform until June 30. Afterwards, we will move all the material to the innovation portal, and we'll still have I think, a good talk with Work Package 1 on how we can make that also have some degree of interactivity there, maybe connection to the forum. That's something that we are going to discuss. For those, because of course we're gonna hand out diplomas in a moment. For those who still want to do it, before June 30, you also get the opportunity to get your diploma. So now on to the diploma part.
Yeah.
Maybe before we go into just, I do want to stress a little bit, like who is getting the diploma. We have decided to award everyone who has been active in the past weeks during the Spring Sprint We have seen varying degrees of activity, but we do think that all deserve a diploma. We have a few that have a distinct activity, and that I will come to later. But we think every one of you who we've seen deserves one. Those who could not make it to this session today will, of course, get their diploma later. But yeah, so I'm just going to start rolling the diploma. Roll is yours, right? So.
Well, let me first
Yeah.
say some words. Yeah, when Caroline and I discussed on this graduation ceremony, it reminds me in my younger years when I was a university professor. The graduation moment was an official physical event where you had to say some kind words for the family. And you did it in, let's say, the presence of everybody. Well, then the question is how to do it in this virtual days. So we decided to hand over let's say, an electronic version to the candidates, but it's I think and it would be good when I hand over one of the certificates. There's in the top of your screen, there's reactions. Maybe we can all give an applause. That would be nice. Then we have, well, the feeling of a graduation.
That's a nice idea.
We will hand over certificates, and then you can say, okay, why do I need a certificate? And I think it's for us, it's also a sort of experiment. It's not that we have done this a lot of times, but it's good to be aware that I think we did a lot of efforts to make SmartAgriHubs a brand. And I think we were quite successful in that. Everybody in, let's say, digitizing agri-food knows about SmartAgriHubs. So it's good to, we thought it is good to have a proof that you are connected to this ecosystem, and that you also have a profile on, let's say, in this case, more on the business services. So please use the certificate when you apply for grants somewhere, that you can say, well, and you can deliver proof as Annex 21 that you add your certificate and say, okay, I'm connected to the SmartAgriHubs community. I think it will be appreciated by evaluators. At least that's the idea. Yeah. Okay, let's start. Let's give the first certificate to Tunde Yarmati. Sorry for pronunciation. And yeah, congratulations.
Okay.
Yeah, it works. It works.
Yes.
Then great. Vesna, the next candidate, please. Congrats. Yeah, you can also do it on screen. Carlota. Congratulations with this certificate. And then we go to Sami. Congrats to Sami. It's nice looking at the screen.
Good.
Australia. Kieran, also for you. Congratulations. Dolores.
Yeah, Dolores is even a Spring Sprint coach and also active on the platform. Yeah.
Capter, that's Capter. I think it's Augustine.
No, I'm Cayetano. But thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, congrats to Capter, to Augustine.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, also active as a hub indeed on the platform. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Next, Lucas. Well.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. Some of you have especially been active before the Spring Sprint, but also you deserve that.
Then Bart.
Yeah, well, we have Anneleen here today representing Ilvo, but Bart did most of the work, let's be honest.
Congrats to Wax.
Applause for both of you. Annelene is also very.
Oh, okay. This is a duo.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well,
Okay. Well, congratulations to all, and it was a pleasure. And I think let's say a hard copy of this certificate will be sent later on to the graduates. Now, congratulations, you are now graduates, and it's an important step. Okay, thank you.
yes, indeed, yes.
Back to you.
Well, thank you, George. You know, I couldn't have done it any better. You're very good at this, so thank you, George. Like I said, of course, we have a few more who deserve this diploma, like Harold. We've seen him every week being so active, but he couldn't make it today. Those will get one. Those people will get one as well, and it will be a digital certificate. If you really insist on having a hard copy, I can try to arrange something. But we decided on a digital because you'll probably be always using it digitally. That's why. I know that you know, you have had various degrees of activities, and we also have a few of you who we thought kind of stood out over the past weeks in activity, and also one of who will be especially rewarded now has also been active actually since the start of the platform, of really commenting and working on the materials. So there's actually two of you that we thought of as a team deserved even something a little bit special. I will first say what the reward is. The reward is that the two that I will mention in a moment will get a spotlight during the closing event of SmartAgriHub. So you will get a moment. We're going to define what that moment is, but you will get a special spotlight moment during the closing event. Which Sjors will also, as a wrap-up for today, tell a little bit more about later. So who are going to get the special reward? It will be Marga from Greenport Cluster West Holland, and it will be Carlotta from Rurale Hub. So we all think very well deserved. Marga already told me that she couldn't be here until now, but she gave this response. She's very proud of this, and she says, yeah, we're very honored to hear that the activities we are doing, she always talks about we, that's very noble, but especially Marga does a lot, that she's honored that it really is perceived as a contribution, and it really is. And maybe Carlotta, maybe you would like to say something.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been really valuable to me, as other participants said before. As like we at the Innovation Center Giulionata in Rurale Hub as a really great potential to enable innovation to happen in the agri-food chain, innovating it for good. And so this course and these connections has been really powerful and interesting for me to understand how to better shape and direct our activities for the future to come. And of course, I would love to stay in touch with all of you and to like share with you our advancement and also ask for advice, because you are a really valuable source of advice and competence. So thank you so much again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Carlotta. So we will be in touch with you and with Marga on how we're going to spotlight you during the event. Marga actually told me yesterday, now I even have a better reason to tell my management I have to go to Lisbon. So, you know, I hope Carlotta, that's for you also. So thank you all. This wraps up the ceremony, and I invited Sjors as well, because we're talking about the closing event now, to also as a wrap up for the official part of today, to tell us more about the SmartAgriHubs closing event.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. Let me start with thanking the team, Caroline and the team of moderators and also participants. Thank you for making this training happen. I think it's what I really appreciate is the peer-to-peer concept that Caroline and her team have been managed to implement. I think peer-to-peer learning is the strongest way to learn. And so that's, I think, well implemented in this training. But it also implies that the candidates of this morning are now the graduates, but they will also be the teachers of tomorrow. At least I hope that many of you can be will be available to help and to be a sparring partner or maybe even a teacher to the other hubs, because we have a couple of hundred hubs more to develop. So graduates today, teachers tomorrow. I think that's a good concept that we try to include, and that makes the bridge also to let's say the key activities that we have in let's say the SmartAgriHubs team. We are focusing currently on two things: on sustainability of all the things that we developed and built. So we hope that even after June 30, we will have an arrangement later on that we can continue by providing these kind of trainings and peer-to-peer exercises on different fields. So that's and the other other key activity of the SmartAgriHubs team is to organize the closing event. The closing event, for those who don't know, will be in end of September. It will be 26 to 28 September in Lisbon. And we have a 3 days event for that. So the first day is for SmartAgriHubs participants. So for all of you are very welcome, where we share, let's say, the results of 4 years SmartAgriHubs, where we are and how we intend to continue. And then we have a quite spectacular 2 days more for, we call it the Synergy Days. And that's very interesting for the Digital Innovation Hubs, because the core of the Synergy Days will be that we invited all the projects that are working on digitization in agri-food to send out their cases. So the cases, the use cases, the pilot or whatever they are called, but the people that are really working on digital solution for the agri-food community. So we expect, well, at least 50, 60 of those cases to be available and to be exposed in an exhibition where you can, I would say, as a digital innovation hub, you can shop around and see what kind of solutions would be interesting for your own community at home. So that's one of the, we did it before with only 2 projects, and it was already quite spectacular in Prague for those who were there. But now we have, let's say, we topped it up with a lot of other participants. It's a pure physical event. So after 2 years virtual meeting, we finally we can meet each other and see each other and shake hands and drink a coffee or a beer, whatever you want. So that's we're looking forward to that. In this SmartAgriHubs day, the first day on the Monday 26th, we have a session where we want to expose the digital innovation hubs. So we have so that's what Caroline was referring to. But we will also discuss about present what the regional clusters did. I think you're all connected to them, I also hope that we can manage to have some people from Brussels also involved in the program, so that we can also show to the Commission what we did with their budget. For the Synergy Days, we don't only have the exhibition with the cases, which will be a continuous thing, but we also have a lot of we call it workshop sessions, we are targeting about 50 different workshop sessions on topics that will be interesting for those people who are working on digitization in agri-food. So this will be more the specific topics, interoperability, marketing, branding, also the standardization, and all kinds of topics will go through to that to take more of the specific aspects that we worked on in the last 4 years. So it will be quite spectacular. I hope we can shake hands with a lot of DIHs, which most of them I only know via the innovation portal and by sessions like this. But I really want to meet you and to talk to you about your experiences and the future. That's very important. So that will be let's say the final part of the program, where we hope that we can join forces with all the other projects to continue a broad ecosystem that are really where really the dots are connected, as we put it in SmartAgriHubs. So that's it for the closing event. I hope to see you there, and I wish you a great day, and thank you for having me here. Thank you, Caroline.
You are muted, Caroline.
Yes. Thank you, George. Thank you so much. And for sure, I think, well, at least for me, it's going to be a great day because it started off so nicely this morning. We're going to go to the official closing of this session. However, if you'd like I said, deliberately, we planned it a little bit longer. So because we all know you like to chat together. So you can also, just grab a coffee and chat on, but you're also free to go. And we even, thanks to Christina, we have a discussion question that we can talk about. And George mentioned future, and that was exactly in our question. What do you actually foresee as hubs, as innovations in the near future within agri-tech that you also really want to take a role in? What do you see coming there? And yeah, we're very curious about that. So if you want to grab a coffee first and have a discussion with us, then feel free to stay. And otherwise, also don't feel bad to leave, and we'll see you in Lisbon. This is the official part. Goodbye for now.
Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Lucas, I see you raise the hand. You raised the hand a little bit earlier. So.
No, I'm always questioning something, and I have another question. Because the evaluation of edicts will be already performed, where our event will be made. Maybe it will be a good occasion to invite the agro-oriented edicts to the party. Also, because it will be through the next 3 to 7 years. It could be a very fine occasion to use edicts also to spreading the SmartAgriHubs way of living and way of thinking.
Very good that you mentioned this, Lucas. That's a topic that is on our agenda when we discuss about the sustainability. I'm discussing with DG Agri as well as with DG Connect how to connect the two networks. So we have a broad network dedicated to agri-food, and how to connect it with the EDIHs. And for the short term, I think it's important that we make, let's say, lists or that we know which SmartAgriHubs DIHs are in the working area of an EDIH. And we started with that in the Netherlands, where we, as a sort of guinea pig, try to figure out how we can link up and how we can work together, or well, how we can make the link with the EDIHs, because the EDIHs will be funded for a long term. So that's so we managed to have, let's say, a task in the EDIH program from the Dutch SmartAgriHubs part. So what we basically claim, this EDIH is focusing on robotics. So we claim the agri robotics part and bring in the community for agri in that EDIH. And I think that's, well, we have to see how it works. But I'm also discussing with the people from the Commission on how to link up with this EDIH network. They will be announced, I think, shortly.
It'll be in June.
In June, yeah. Well, in the grapevine, you hear
the decision, I think, has been taken, and there was an info day with member states or so. But now they have to publish it officially. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, but it's important that DIHs know which EDIH are relevant and might become partners or relations in the near future. Yeah, and to go there, to talk with them, to make yourself known, and we can, of course, we can facilitate that from the project. It's an interesting thing. It's the nice thing, Lucas, is that I think, when we started SmartAgriHubs, we really had to make the concept of Digital Innovation Hub operational, to think about what is a hub and what is a competence center, and to make clear definitions. And what I noticed is that they used the material that we developed in the calls, because they were following the DIH unit in Brussels were following us very closely to see what our experiences were, and so it was good that, but yeah, it felt like a guinea pig. But it's good that the Commission is taking this concept, and I think in one of the speeches it was mentioned that we have to learn to work with in a world where innovation will be funded by different parties, Brussels, but also the member states, region, public and private. So we have to learn to work with that, and the DIH concept is preparing for that, in my view.
Any connection with AIP Agri is possible?
That's also on the table. Yeah, it's more complicated, but I'm very persistent in getting in touch with them, and we are talking, but they have changed the way they worked quite drastically the last year, I would say. So I have to find my way there.
Lucas, somehow in your questions, I get the idea that you would be in favor of organizing, say, one ecosystem instead of dozens of separate ones, right? Yeah, I think that's indeed the philosophy also of SmartAgriHubs, to connect the dots, as we say. But yeah, of course, networks like EIP Agri have been existent for some time. It's a matter of, also looking into the future, how that will turn out.
We all know that it's not easy, but we need to try.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's in the end, to scatter the different efforts over different networks isn't useful. And the purpose of this European network is indeed to connect the dots. But yeah, we also understand that this,
and we don't have this time. The privilege of wasting the time.
True.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I think this is a beautiful question in, what are your expectations for the future? And indeed, the EDIs will be a part of that future. Or maybe some of the other participants are willing to, share some thoughts about their view on the future.
Or what do you see also as a topic on which digital collaborate? I had a very interesting discussion. I think it was with Bart about a year ago, and he mentioned, you know what, we keep on being asked by both technology providers and the farming community, what is coming next? Of course, you have the people who are still adopting, so you support this base, but then you also have the people who are asking, what can I do to prepare for the next 10 years? What should I look forward to? And that's possibly a connection between the digital innovation hubs to work towards, right? Because it's something new, it's innovation. So I'm quite curious to hear what are your thoughts. What do we expect on the horizon of, let's say, 10 years? And do the digital innovation hubs still have a role there? Can we also find ways to collaborate on that?
Well, I always say the best way to survive is to make yourself obsolete.
That's a good point. Yes.
But for now, let's say for the coming 5 years, we have quite some. Yeah, sometimes I use it hot potatoes, so difficult topics that need some let's say joint intelligence to solve it. And for instance, one of the things that is quite tricky in this whole digitization is that well, you have been discussing business models, but a lot of very valuable solutions are working on, for instance, the environmental topics. And there's a struggle. What kind of business models do you take for that? So that's these, and then there are some more the data sharing. If you really want to make progress in digitization, we need to make more work on sharing information and sharing data between organizations, which is still quite complex. Of course, everybody wants the farmers to share their data, but when are the feed providers sharing their their prices and so on, and to the farmers? That's a long way to go. So that's and for well, what I see, you know, I'm working in digital arena for quite some years. It needs another generation. So to really make the step to the digital environment, yeah. So there's work enough to do.
Oh, I'm sure about this.
Related to this topic of data sharing, the European Commission has now been talking about the agricultural data space. I've been working in the concept of data space quite a bit already. So the philosophy there is to have a more controlled way of data sharing. So there is a distinction between, say, knowing what data exists and having others get access to that data. And there are some technologies and governance approaches to how to implement that. For instance, in the manufacturing industry, this is actually already operational. So this is an alternative approach to the platform where data is kind of hoarded, and the data space concept is more distributed, so more controlled of who gets access to what data. It's working, but how to implement that in the agricultural sector and how to change the mindsets about that, yeah, that's of course still a challenge. But it's promising from my perspective, so to speak. So I guess that we should keep an eye on the agricultural data space and consider to contribute to that as well.
Yeah.
I interrupted you, Christina. Sorry.
No, I think that what you mentioned is important. Also different movements, well, data spaces, it is now also in agri, but it still seems a little bit, I must say, more connected to the the general digitization discussions. At least that's how in my network, at least it appears. So I hear about different data spaces, but more as a general concept. So it's a question of how do we connect all these initiatives, because we do have the Green Deal, we have the digital deal. Now you have also not the digital, the Digital Europe program innovation. So how do we make these building blocks connected? And then we talk about data sharing, and this is great. And then you enter into discussions of the different EU acts, which, by the way, are not easy to even keep track of what is going on there and what is appearing. Quite a challenge there. I think also for the digital innovation hubs to keep in mind all the building blocks.
Yeah, I would say that the data space approach is more about sovereignty than about technology. Of course, it involves some technology, but understanding that having both access and control over data is crucial for a European improved position. That requires quite some governance. But yeah, so these are specific values that are being strived for. And there is a way to achieve that, but we have to understand that, say, in a collective way. And also, so for that future ahead, I think the collective intelligence that George was referring to is crucial. And therefore, a network like SmartAgriHubs is relevant, I believe.
One of the important, I would say, unique selling points of SmartAgriHubs is that we really work on inclusion of, let's say, on a pan-European level. So a lot of initiative I see are, well, the usual member states are involved and are making progress on that, but how to handle that all 27 member states can make benefits of that. I think that's one of the things that we have quite specifically addressed in the project, and I think that's one of the things that also the Commission is looking at, how we did that and how we can continue to do that. I think that's a valuable asset for let's say the inclusive approach that also the Commission is looking for. And this also involves we have let's say the gender issue, which is the gender task force. I think it's also part of that. You cannot have the threat of the downside of digitization is that the happy few pick it up and make a lot of money, and the rest has to pay for it. So how to make it more inclusive, that everybody can have benefits from that. I think that's why we designed SmartAgriHubs, I think. So some more philosophical elements. But please be aware, there's a lot of thinking behind this concept of SmartAgriHubs and how we implement it. It's not just a one shot. When we started the project, it was started in a workshop in Kilkenny. Some of you were there, and then everybody was asking the people from the Commission, what is a digital innovation hub? And they said, well, you need to figure it out. And I noticed that the agri interpretation, the interpretation that we did, is a little bit different from, let's say, the other sectors. And that's where, let's say, the challenge of connecting with the EDIHs is now lying, that we have to connect with a different type of concept, where the EDIHs are more, let's say, oriented on the technology, and we are more, let's say, on the geography. So that's interesting. And, never a dull moment, as I say.
And that, say, difference in approach brought some challenges too. So it wasn't all thought of before the project commenced, but also a search process in the last few years.
Absolutely, absolutely. We changed our policy a couple of times, so that's when we started. For instance, we were targeting on having big events with big training courses with 200 digital innovation hubs participating, and then we noticed that this will not work. So it's very, very good to work with, let's say, small teams and disseminate it step by step and take more time for that and start working with the front runners and have them handing over to the next, the almost front runners and make them the front runners of the future. But that's the peer-to-peer approach, which I really appreciate and which, in my opinion, works the best instead of having massive actions. So that's one of the changes that we implemented. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I have to leave. It was a pleasure being here to share some thoughts with you, and a great day. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much, George.
Bye.
Bye, George.
Bye. Thank you.
Would somebody else want to raise an opinion, ask a question?
Yeah, the idea behind it, I forgot to say it earlier, is kind of what you always have after graduation, that you stand around a table, you know, with a glass of orange juice or wine, or it depends on the coffee, and then just stand around and chat a bit. You see that it works differently, of course, via a screen, but yeah. And if you're actually like, you know, well, you know, I've done my share of networking, I have to do the groceries now or work, then don't feel bad about it.
No.
I really like the idea of connecting the dots, and but otherwise I'm looking through two different perspectives. For example, a wood as a whole, and then the trees. And also with the digitalization, I see that it's emerging that specialization would be needed, not just in general talking about digitalization in agriculture, but for example, somewhere the data are very interesting topic, and on the other hand, robotics, but all this connecting through digitalization. And the other point I would like to mention is I was because I'm interested in digital AgriHubs. I was sitting on a meeting with women from digitalization, and they were from Slovakia and from Czech Republic and from Slovenia. And there are a lot of women included, and the thing is expanding. I'm also a mentor to 25 women who are doing the Google IT certificate for Google IT support. And this is the point, that it's also connecting the dots together. So it should be, as Frank mentioned, the things should be streamed nicely to go with the right initiatives, because the field is very broad, and it's needs specialists also, as well as generalists who will cover the connecting. So this is my point, and I think it's a fantastic thing to progress, because the challenges are really huge in this field.
Thank you.
Cannot say it better. Indeed, there are quite a lot of initiatives. So it's good if you're in part of a few networks at least, so that you can bring forward some of the thinking in the different parts.
Just to mention, I guess, in from that connecting the dots, and I suppose I mentioned earlier the way our cluster is right now, it's government funded. It's one of 12 clusters, just to be aware, I guess, across different sectors. So say agri-tech is one sector. There's other sectors like circular economy that have been identified, you know, as, I suppose, high sectors with high growth potential. And so there's 12 different clusters being supported at the moment in terms of developing clusters or digital innovation hubs across different sectors, and they're all hosted at different universities across Ireland. So I think in Ireland there's really that focus at the moment of trying to develop a policy of, you know, having organizations that can make these connections, that can connect these dots to help companies to grow. It's just to mention, I suppose, it's then very useful, like Vesna's connections. It's very useful for me to discuss with the other cluster managers as well. And we meet sort of once every 6 weeks, and it's very useful to see, you know, what challenges or what opportunities are people seeing in their different sectors. You know, and the sectors are very varied, like from the agri side to wood, furniture making, to really tech based, like Industry 4 software specializations. So it's a useful, I suppose, networking or you know, forum that we can connect on. And I think it's helping to form a policy in Ireland of using clusters as a tool for economic growth, right? And I think Ireland is probably behind other countries in that, but it's trying to catch up, I think, at the moment.
Thank you, Kieran. I think this is a very interesting topic and development. I want to say highlight or discuss one thing related to that. So you mentioned, for instance, that another university is setting up a center around circular economy, and of course agriculture and circularity have been, say, like brothers and sisters for decades, no, ages. So there might be a conflict, a more competitive conflict. So, hey, this topic really is circular. No, it's agricultural. Yeah. I think this avoiding this say competitive discussion is really demanding a lot of, say, leadership from you as leaders of the Digital Innovation Hubs. In my view, the Digital Innovation Hubs are there to support the innovation towards societal impact. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for such a supporting entities to start competing, because in the end we need to create that impact. So it's about your leadership to make complementarity and synergy with your competitor hub, which isn't per se in the founding fathers and mothers of those units, like the universities, they compete in one way or another. But on the Digital Innovation Hub level, it's about application, it's about impact. So yeah, I'm making a call to you to address your leadership and try to avoid that competitive position as much as possible. It's really a wish from me because I've seen some competition there.
Yeah, it's very, very apt, you know, and what we are seeing at the moment is, I suppose, you know, there's certain companies who are interested in different sectors, you know, that cluster and our cluster, we're sharing right now members. That's fine while the membership is free. But when we start to charge for membership, or, you know, then that can become complex as well about, you know, does a member have to decide or pay twice or 3 times, you know, if they want to be part of different things. So yeah, I think it's like, I'm lucky in that the circular cluster is actually based in the same university as me, so we're actually sharing the same office. So actually we have found lots of good synergies, and we've been able to collaborate on a number of things and share our resources, which is great, you know. But certainly if we were in different parts of the country, you could see where that conflict would be maybe more prevalent, where it's harder to engage kind of face to face, you know. So we've really been able to kind of piggyback on what we're doing and share the load a little bit, you know, so far. But yeah, I think going forward, it will be interesting to see how that landscape of organizations develops over the next years. And I think at the moment, it's sort of really a test case in Ireland to see how the 12 clusters go in their journeys. And it'll be interesting, like, we're funded for 3 years. And I think there's a review going on now in the next year to see how the progress is, and you know, then to make a plan for the next maybe 3 years, how that should be, you know.
Yeah. So I don't want to say scare you, but I think the role of the Digital Innovation Hub leadership is really a collection of dilemmas. So It's short-term technology development versus longer-term impact. Sometimes you have to do things that are closer to the market. It's also economic growth versus sustainability impact, for instance. And then we already discussed this competition. So yeah, it's a basket full of dilemmas that you will be facing in the future and already.
The challenges ahead.
Yeah. And I guess that this is also the reason why a community of digital innovation hubs is useful, just to cry on each other's shoulder a little bit and then move on, as well as sharing actual learnings.
Thank you.
Olivia, by the way, thank you so much for the past week.
Thank you, Olivia.
Yeah, so with all these challenges, thankfully we we have this also these resources available. Now I don't want to brag too much about it, but I think it's a nice coherence of materials and networking. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
So maybe now this is a good moment to also wrap up the chatting. Well, thank you for sticking with us, and you will be receiving your certificates via the email, and we'll be in touch.
Hope to see you all in Lisbon, and continue this nice energy and your eagerness to learn. I'm really inspired by it. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye for
Thank
now.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.